The Fifth Element is a pulpy sci-fi adventure that takes the audience from a metropolis of flying cars to a cruise ship in space and back to a pyramid in Egypt. Today we'll discuss how well the film works 25 years since its release, assuming of course we didn't forget to bring our multipass. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter and I'm joined as always by Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
This is a science fiction movie podcast. We get together and we talk about sci-fi movies. It's really quite that simple. And this episode we are tackling the most recent vote winner over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Our patrons get to vote between 3 films every month, and we had a 90s vote because it's 90s season, and the winner was The Fifth Element. The 1997 Luc Besson film starring Bruce Willis, Gary Oldman, Milla Jovovich, Ian Holm, Luke Perry in one scene, Chris Tucker, the prisoner from The Dark Knight. He throws the trigger at the window. He's there. It's a whole host of people. Brian James, who's a bit of a cult movie actor. There's a long list of names in here, and probably a few other faces that I even recognize that I'm not even mentioning right now. So. Yes. Which you had seen before, I assume.
Yes, I have. I saw it in theaters a couple times.
I think I did too. I think I saw this in theaters. I think when it was this in a different movie. So my like movie theater, like there was an older one that was only a couple of screens, but like the big movie theater that had, you know, what you think of as an appropriate number of screens these days, opened in 97, and this was the second movie I saw there. I can't remember what the first one was, but they were both out around the same time.
Was it The Lost World? Because I feel like those came out at the same time.
No, I did see Lost World, but that was a little bit later. There was something else. It was something not as good. I remember that. At least at the time, it felt like it wasn't as appealing.
Was it Independence Day?
No, that was like a year prior, I think. I want to say it was something like Jungle to Jungle starring Tim Allen. I want to say it was something like that.
Jungle to Jungle wasn't... Yeah, you're right, that was Tim Allen.
Yeah.
I was thinking of George of the Jungle for a sec.
Yeah. Oh, I did definitely see that as well, but I mean... my year may be off here, I don't know. This is completely irrelevant to the thing. It is 1997! This could be it. It could be Jungle to Jungle. Anyway, so... Fifth Element, set in the future, this giant planet-sized evil, you know, it's basically the Nothing from Neverending Story. This force is coming to kill everything, and the only hope against it is this sacred set of 4 stones that have to go into a pyramid, and then the fifth element, which is obviously the title of the movie, is a being who will stand at the center and will destroy the evil, and everything's about getting to that point to like save the world and indeed the universe as it is. And there is more planets with life because we see aliens in this movie, so that is definitely a thing that's around. So you got Bruce Willis as this kind of down on his luck average Joe cab driver, except the cab flies because we're in the future and we get this big bright city. In fact, the whole movie is quite bright. It's a lot very bright and colourful. Is what people usually remember from it, but that is the basic idea of the Fifth Element. Tara, how do you feel about the Fifth Element?
Well, yes, I've seen this movie a lot. I know it, I feel like frame by frame pretty well. But this is the first time I've watched it where I think I sort of made the decision that I don't really like this movie that much.
I am shocked. I did not see this coming at all. I am absolutely gobsmacked.
Shut your mouth. You knew how I felt about this. I do think that I like a lot about the movie. All right, I like the look of it. I like the aliens. I like Milla Jovovich a lot in it. I like the music. But I think overall, I don't really like the characters outside of Milla Jovovich and maybe Gary Oldman. I think some of the acting is just so bad, like just real bad. And I think the story is not great. The plot doesn't make any sense to me. I guess I don't like it anymore. I don't know when it changed, but This was I didn't really expect this either when I watched it. It felt like it was 4 hours long.
I'm happy to say I still enjoy the film. I it's a light-hearted kind of space adventure, and I appreciate kind of its quirkiness because it's never taken itself too seriously. There's always a sense of humor. There's always kind of like an offbeat way that some of the dialogue is given, which you might say is bad acting, but I think it's like an intentional choice.
What about the president?
The president?
He was pretty terrible. He was like he sounded like they got a sports athlete to take the role or something. Like he was reading the lines that way.
I kind of like him. I don't know. He's comforting.
It's so sweaty. Why is he sweating all the time?
Look at that big fancy outfit they've got him wearing. That's it looks uncomfortable.
It's hot in space, yeah.
That's why he's sweating. I don't think he's in space, is he?
He might be on Earth, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just in his Oval Office equivalent. Is where I think he is. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of little quirks in the performances I really like. I like how colourful it is. I do enjoy the kind of the absurdity of the story, and I do like most of the characters actually. I think one of the interesting things I was thinking about as I was getting towards the end of this is that when it does get a bit more, I don't want to say dramatic, but when it starts playing some emotional beats towards the end of the film, I actually get into it a little bit, and I'm like, this is such a lighthearted movie. Why is this working better for me than say a dramatic movie that kind of fails? And I'm just sort of sitting there going, you've not made me care about this. And I think it all just comes down to, it's not that it does like an amazing job in the story of like pulling at the heartstrings, but it does make you like the characters enough that when it does pull some emotional beats, you're like, oh yeah, I like the characters enough that I'm invested in what they're doing. I'm invested in what they're saying. So, I think it works well enough in that front, but I think it's just fun. I think it holds up surprisingly well from an effects point of view, despite the fact that it's 1997.
Yeah, I do like that. They're really reserved on when they use their computer effects versus practical.
Yeah. And they're usually pretty forgivable when they do because of that, I think. It has a really cool aesthetic. I like the sense of humor the movie has. I find it pretty charming most of the time. A lot of the little quips from Bruce Willis or the little jokes from the villains, multi-pass, all that stuff.
Maybe because I've heard the lines so many times that they're not going to be funny anymore. But I didn't think it was very funny.
That's kind of an...
And the emotional stuff at the end I thought just dragged out way too long.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a romantic. I don't know. I was into it. What can I say?
Yeah. It's my cold, broken heart. I can't enjoy love stories anymore.
And to be fair, I have a personal vendetta against the actress here because Milla Jovovich went on to star in 6 horrible Resident Evil movies, desecrating a beloved franchise of mine with her and her horrible husband.
Milla Jovovich is definitely the best part of this movie. Even Bruce Willis, I find to be like he's doing his shtick, his usual Bruce Willis shtick. That it works, but because it's kind of just John McClane in space.
How do you not love Gary Oldman? Not Gary Oldman. I mean, he's good, but how do you not love Ian Holm in this? Come on, Ian Holm is delightful in this.
Yeah, he is fun. You're right. I do like Ian Holm in it.
Yeah, the way
plus the scenes he has with the president, it just reminds you how good of an actor Ian Holm is.
It's just like when he first sees Leela and he realizes what she is, the way he gets nervous and sweats and sort of wipes his brow and he sort of he faints at one point. There's so many little things that he does with his body language. Yeah. Don't like if you're going to compare Ian Holm to another Ian Holm performance, then you bring up Ash from Alien. You don't bring that Lord of the Rings.
He's nothing like Ash in this.
I agree, but I don't want this Lord of the Rings filth brought up on my show. Okay.
Bilbo Baggins.
I have a good time with it. I genuinely do. I will maybe concede that Chris Tucker is annoying when he first appears. I do think he gets better as the movie goes on, though. Let's see, once all the action kicks off, I do think he's more interesting once he's reacting to that, as opposed to just him doing his radio DJ really over the top shtick that he's doing when you first meet him.
I know he's supposed to be annoying, but he does get pretty grating.
I can't argue with that, but I think that's I don't know, maybe this is the opposite of what you've said, but I think I've seen the movie so many times that oddly it's just kind of comforting now, because it's like there's a nostalgia to the weird way he screams at people. But
you gonna watch Rush Hour on Collector's Cut, the Rush Hour film?
I mean, at some point we will. I don't know. Like, I liked Rush Hour 1 and 2 when I was, when they came out, because I was like, I don't know, 11 or something. Like, they appealed to my sensibilities at the time. I can't say I'm looking forward to revisiting them. I'm a little concerned that I'm just going to be annoyed, but we'll see.
That was Chris Tucker, right?
Yeah, that was Chris Tucker.
I've actually never seen them.
I mean, I can't really say if I recommend them or not, to be honest, but I've got a sneaking suspicion I might have outgrown those.
His best role is in Jackie Brown.
Oh, I forgot he was in that. You're right.
Well, it's not a very long role.
Tara, don't be spoiling character demises.
I won't say what happens.
It's
just a cameo.
It's a Tarantino movie. It's obviously ending in death. Okay. Tarantino characters will just walk away out the movie happy.
For having to listen to Ruby Rod.
Yeah, that's his character in this, for anyone who's trying to keep track of all this.
Ruby Rod.
Yeah.
I do like the music a lot. I remember listening to the score quite a bit. After I think I had it on cassette.
It's got a nice mix of, like, there's some really weird, like, upbeat parts to it, but then there's also some traditional stringed emotional parts to the music towards the end. I think it all works. It has a kind of a unique feel. I think it's weird because it is obviously a very light-hearted kind of like action movie, summer season friendly movie, but at the same time, it's, I don't want to praise Besson too much because he's been accused of a lot of nasty things, but as a filmmaker, it does feel like he's got such a unique style in this film that it never feels like it's just another mindless blockbuster. It feels like every weird thing that's in this is weird because the choices are quirky weird intentionally. It's not like, there's not falling into any kind of like formula by any means. Like, sure, you can say that, yeah, like Bruce Willis might be like going into just sort of like traditional Bruce Willis favorite points, but I don't think anything, the way the world is designed, the way the characters react to things, I don't think any of that feels because Bruce Willis might feel like he's just in a kind of slightly altered John McClane at times, but then there's moments when he's like someone tries to mug him and the way he just sort of like, there's a quirkiness to a lot of the interactions and how they bounce off of each other, and it's very taste dependent for sure. Like, I don't think this is going to appeal to everyone, but I think that's why if it does appeal to you, it works though, because it's like, oh, this is different and it's weird and I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think that's why I liked it when it came out also, is because it was so different and fun to look at. But I think it doesn't work so well watching it now. Like, if this movie came out now, it would just get the same reaction as Valerian or like Jupiter Ascending. Oh,
Valerian!
Like
no, Valerian is much worse because I saw that. I think, if anything, this is better now than it was when it came out, because now the problem of all these like blockbusters feeling the exact same is more of a problem than it was back then. I think I appreciate how weird this is more now than I did back then, because now I'm more deprived of more unique, high budget movies like this. Because now everything's, it's a Marvel movie or it's whatever, and they all have the same kind of feel. Or
it's a fast car movie.
Yeah, it's a Fast and the Furious, or the DC movies also have kind of a weird, like, consistent kind of soulless tone to them. Like, not including the Batman, but all the other ones. Like, I didn't see Black Adam yet, and I really can't be arsed to.
No, I'm not going to watch that.
And I'm a DC Comics fan, which should tell you all you need to know about that.
My friend who loves bad movies, not like the way that I love bad movies, but like he just has really bad taste in movies, and he also really loves The Rock. Went and saw it opening night, and he said, I don't think that was a very good movie. I said, wow, it must be real bad.
That's damning. That's damning coming from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I appreciate how much of a personality this has, and I think the fact that it won't appeal to everyone is kind of why I like it. Not because I feel like it separates me from the filthy casuals who won't get it, because it's not like a hard movie to understand. I think it's that sort of thing where if you appeal to everyone, you're kind of like a watered down, like, fast food thing. But if you're a really strong flavor, you appeal to the people who are going to like that flavor, but it's unapologetically that, as opposed to being something that's safe for everyone. So I think that's kind of like part of why I appreciate this, and the quirkiness that does work for me in this.
Yeah, I guess it just didn't land for me this time, and I don't, apart from like some cool designs and some not cool designs, like I just don't know that. I just don't know that it's enough anymore for me to be positive on the film. I think overall the plot is just kind of, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and it's.
Makes complete sense. What are you talking about?
Sometimes it's a bit confusing on the plot. Like it's doing too much, and like there's too many scenes happening.
Do you know?
Like,
I will say this: the last couple of times I've watched it, I have noticed like how complex it is because there's so many like parties. I think there's a point in the middle where the plot kind of gets to this stage where, like the main plot's going towards this like spaceship hotel that everyone's going to get to, and there's like 3 or 4 different parties who will eventually go there to try and get the stones, the MacGuffin of the film. And like it's kind of like there's more going on. I actually think it works just fine. I don't think it's too bad. I think it all makes enough sense when you're watching it and you're not really that confused. But when you stop and think about how many different parties even just try to claim to be Corbin Dallas to get onto the flight, there's like 3 different scenes of like different people trying to do that. It is kind of wild how many different parts there are. One of the interesting details about this film, I've definitely brought this up before when I've talked about the film, but it's one of the few films, and I do think it works in this case. Normally this would be a problem, but it is interesting that the main villain of this film and the main hero of this film never meet, interact, or are even aware that each other exist. Zorg, played by Gary Oldman, and Corbin Dallas by Bruce Willis, they never see each other. They never interact. I mean, Bruce Willis's character will know he exists because he's the head of the corporation that seems to like own everything, but other than that, they never come into contact, and it's kind of, that's weird. So and maybe that's partly also why it just feels a little bit different. It's not doing the same tropes, at least not all of them anyway. So, I applaud its weirdness and its differences. Is it a perfect
I'm
movie?
all about weird. I just found it to be long and annoying.
I mean, I can't argue with that. If you felt it was annoying, it's annoying. Like, but that's that's like a taste thing at that point.
Yeah. I don't want to be contrarian because I definitely used to like this movie a lot, but I don't know, it just did not work. Maybe I'm just having a bad day.
Well, except Chris Tucker.
I don't think I'm having a bad day.
I think Chris Tucker is universally pretty annoying in this.
Yeah.
I would just say that I've seen it enough times that parts of it are endearing to me now, but like he is annoying. Like he is annoying in this.
Yeah. Even the love story in this, I even watching it when I was younger, I never really bought into the love story in it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But hey, yeah. We talked about most of the elements. I just reiterate the design of the film. I love how the flying New York looks, well, the flying cars. Is blatant as the product placement is. The idea of the drive-through McDonald's that's like that high up is kind of cool. I think the only thing that bothers me about it is that they sort of do it again, like they product place McDonald's again like a minute later when they crash into a McDonald's truck, and I'm just like, did you really need to do that part as well? Like, but I actually really like the idea of the drive-in that's like,
McDonald's is still going strong, and this is like 21 something for the date, 2114, somewhere around that, because the movie opens in 1914 and it says about 300 years after is when.
So it'd be 200. It'd be 2200 and something then, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
McDonald's is still going strong.
I mean, to be fair, with the stronghold they have in the fast food market, is that unbelievable?
Yeah, probably not.
If anything, if you told me McDonald's bought out everything else and it was kind of like Demolition Man with Taco Bell because they won the fast food wars, I would have been like, yeah, that sounds about right. That's the most actually.
Taco Bell is so much better.
Yeah, but Taco Bell's not got the foothold in the rest of the world. Like Taco Bell's big in like the US and maybe a couple other countries, but McDonald's
it's still not McDonald's big even in the US.
But McDonald's is the biggest fast food place in almost every country. Like it's
you don't tell me.
It's obscene how successful McDonald's, and they were first, so I guess that's why they were able to do that.
I like the idea also that a food truck will just come right to your apartment and will cook for you.
Oh yeah, it's like street Asian food, but it's just a guy in like a sort of flying boat who comes up to your window and serves you.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you think he had to call for that? Do you think that's like a takeout delivery kind of service?
Yeah, it's like the future of DoorDash.
Yeah, he just comes in his little. It's like the food truck coming to your window. He just comes up and he seems to get on. I don't know. He clearly does this a lot. It made me want Chinese food though. I'm not going to lie. He was sitting there stuffing his face with food. I was like, oh, I could go
Thai
for some
food. I'm a Thai food fan.
While we're on differences in the future, as someone who's recently been on a plane for a very long stretch of time, the idea of them just like knocking you out with gas when you go into their plane, I'm like, that sounds great. Just do that.
Yeah. No free meals, just knock me out.
Yeah, just like what do we call it? Space movies with the
like in the
like an alien, like a ton of different movies. What?
Hibernation.
Yeah, that's not the word I'm looking for though. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So like, yeah, just do that to me on a plane, so I don't have to like wait the 10 to 15 hours that the long flight may be. Sounds great to me. No?
Yeah, flying sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. So there's I mean, other than that, I kind of love the design of Corbin's apartment. It's this really compact studio place, but I kind of like how, to make everything fit, like the fridge goes down and that's when the shower's on top of the fridge, so it goes down and the shower's there. Or the bed it's like a drawer that you put back in. And
yeah, everything is designed to be very compact, presumably because there's so many people and he's like in a building that's stacked really high like a skyscraper.
Yeah. I don't know if they're all on Earth, although the fact that the buildings are going that tall would suggest that a lot of them are. But the president at one point says he serves 200 billion people. So, like, yeah, there's a lot of lives kicking about. A lot of lives. But even I think his bed, like, whenever he pulls it back out, it's, like, dry cleaned again. Mm-hmm. Like, so there's some, like, fancy future, like, bonuses to all this, even if he has, like, a tiny little home.
Mm-hmm. I do like the way that fits into this whole like this comedy bit that does work later on.
Yes. There's
trying to hide people.
Yeah, I guess used at one point. Yeah, in the movie.
There's so many different ways you could kill somebody in that apartment. I figured you like him also because he's a cat man.
Oh, of course, he's got a cat. I also appreciate that every single apartment has like yellow circles near the door, because when the police come around and say put your hands in the yellow circle, that's you've got a place for it. Like how often do the police come to every apartment? Maybe it's just in this area because it's dodgy, because we see some of the neighbors in there, someone tries to mug him in his apartment, there's a neighbor who like gets arrested quite quickly by the cops. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of maybe it's a really dodgy part of New York.
He's
and that's
a cab
why.
driver, right? So kid doesn't make too much money, I assume.
No. Sounds like he has to replace his cab a lot as well, which probably eats into his finances. He's always losing his license. So, no. I like the design of the world and, all that other stuff. So, yeah. I guess we'll get the spoiler warning so we can talk about the plot and get into all the specifics and whatnot. But, yeah, so Fifth Element spoilers from here on out. The movie begins in Egypt, where Luke Perry is drawing stuff, and Aziz keeps dropping the mirror for the light, the little shit. He's falling asleep. And I remember his names because I distinctly remember just like the old guy who's like sort of brushing off the hieroglyphics on the wall of the pyramid. And I just remember him yelling, Aziz, light! Like, this, I don't know, it's one of those things where you've seen a movie as often as I have seen this, that just certain moments and lines just kind of get ingrained in your head.
I say it every time I turn the lights on here in my place. When it's, like, completely dark.
Mm-hmm.
But then I turn it on myself. I don't have a little child that...
Yeah. Well, the part I always...
for pennies.
The part I always remember, though, is when he says, Aziz, light, and then the spaceship that's landed, their big floodlights come on, and it just floods the place with lights. Like, oh, much better, Aziz, thank you. Oh, dear. So, yeah, we're interested in this idea that there's like a line of priests on Earth that know about these stones and that the coming darkness and the evil needs to be dealt with. This one in this time period almost kills the... archaeologist because he knows too much, but then the big alien dudes in the the big suits, which again, very unique design. I don't know. Do you like this one? Do you like the design of these aliens?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They look very Ninja Turtle mixed with ducks. I like them because they're very bulky. They look really uncomfortable to move around in and stuff, but they're a cool design.
They have just have a bit of personality that I feel like most movies would try to make everything cool, and I feel like this wasn't afraid to have some of the things not be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, these aliens don't look cool. Nor do the villainous aliens later either. They look just kind of, you know.
No, but it matches the aesthetic of the rest of the film still.
Yeah, for sure. But we get introduced to the idea of the stone. They're taking the stones off Earth, and it just kind of sets up some of the core premise, so that when we jump ahead to, you know, the future part of the movie, and the military's like detected this big thing, and of course you get the one asshole's like, "Don't worry, President, I'm very confident. We'll just launch some nukes into this thing, and it'll work." And Ian Holm's like begging them, "No, it'll just make it stronger. It feeds off evil, and nukes are evil." And lo and behold, they make it stronger, and the ships that are near it all get destroyed in the process due to their own stubbornness.
I don't know if it's implying this or not, because we sort of see something later, but it seems like whatever this planet blob asteroid thing that is coming after them, it maybe has some sort of like hypnosis power on people, because they're trying to get a hold of the general who's on the other side doing the actual launching of the missiles and stuff, and he's sort of he seems like he's hypnotized or catatonic. Maybe he's just in shock though. Yeah,
I think I read it as just he's in shock because this giant mass is just coming towards him and there's nothing he can do about it. But maybe it does. I mean, we know it intimidates people because later on we find out that Gary Oldman's character is working for it and he's terrified of it. So I guess, you know, he's the main villain because he's the star and he has a lot of scenes where he's the villain, but you know, he's ultimately working for the great darkness that's coming, this evil planet that's going to destroy everything. But it does lead to some fun scenes where he's hamming up as a villain, which Gary Oldman is very good at, it has to be said.
Yeah, he's a good character. He always gives it 110%, you know.
Oh yeah, he's not afraid to do a quirky performance necessarily. Even though I'd say most of his movies he's not quirky, but there is that one movie where he plays a little person that got like buried for a while, and I eventually came out direct to video.
Yeah, I'll have to find that one day.
Oh, what did I say it was called, like Tiny Feet or something like that? I can't remember. But
well, I'll have to check it out. I need to know his filmography. So
of course, yes. Why wouldn't you? So yeah, that's Zorg we're talking about here, and he's like looking for the stones. He's making deals with aliens. He tries to pay them with all I can describe this as is that gun from Beverly Hills Cop 3 that's got like a microwave built in and it has all these different functions. He basically has that. You know, it's got a flamethrower, an ice blaster, a machine gun,
grenade
a rocket launcher. Yeah, the whole shebang. He's very proud of it, but yes. They failed. You know, they bring him an empty case because ultimately what kicks the plot off really is that these aliens that took the stones are coming back, and the president's listening to, you know, Ian Holm at this point. Like, he wasn't at first, but once, you know, they try the missiles and it doesn't work, he's like, oh, he seems to be on board. He believes what Ian Holm's telling him about the prophecies and everything. But these aliens, the evil aliens working for Zorg, they attack the ship to kill everyone, and the only survivor is the life form that will become the fifth element. And you know, they get this from the debris and they bring it down, and it forms into in their like fancy medical pod thing, it forms into Milla Jovovich's character, who is effectively like a new life form who doesn't really, you know anything, doesn't speak English. She speaks the aliens' own language from the sounds of it, but
they must have been able to rebuild her memory somehow when they rebuilt her brain.
It's kind of mixed though. I feel like in some level she has to learn about everything again, but she clearly has some basic fundamentals just baked in, you know.
Or maybe she's just speaking gibberish. She's not actually
possibly
speaking anything.
Well, no, because Ian Holm translates one of the things she says later.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So it is a language. This is where. So we get this big chase sequence where she's like, you know, running out the building, going through the wall, and all the scientists are staring at her and gawking at her. Do you know what? This movie was a PG when it came out, and there's actually, you know, there's a couple of scenes of nudity in here. There's some implied stuff going on later on. I thought, I'm surprised this got a PG in 1997. I really am.
Oh, it still feels pretty PG. to me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's some implied stuff, like you said, but it's you get what, like a nipple?
You do see some boobs. And I feel like, certainly this time period, I don't think anything under a 12 in the UK would have had that. But I mean, I guess they thought the movie was lighthearted enough; it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. The director and actress are both like, they're both European, so the free spirit, it doesn't matter. Everyone can just roll with it, I guess.
It's true.
Yeah, because she's basically just wearing like tape. They put like tape on her when she first wakes up. But she jumps off the building. It's a great big shot, actually. That shot of her diving into like all the cars that are flying underneath her is a wonderful shot. And would you believe it? She lands in Bruce Willis's taxi cab, which is their meet cute, if you will. And instantly he's like, "Oh, who are you?" Hello, redhead.
Orange hair.
I think that's works well enough. There's this idea that she's effectively asking for help. She's like looking at like some words in the cab, and she is able to ask for help. She understands that word, and she looks very vulnerable. And Corbin, even though he's cooperating with the police who are trying to pull up next to him, he ultimately makes the choice to just do the the legally wrong thing and help her somehow, which gets us into the car chase. I think the moment works well enough to make us like him as a character, where it's like, no, he's willing to go to bat for this, and yeah, you could be cynical and say, yeah, but he's trying to impress the hot woman who just landed in the backseat. But I don't know, she feels genuinely vulnerable, and it feels like he's actually putting his neck out to help her. So I don't know.
He does. It kind of comes off a little bit creepy when he's describing her to his friend as perfect and stuff, when she's in her tape outfit. Since she is vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like, you could bring up the fact that, because obviously it takes her to Ian Holm's place, and to wake her up, like he goes to her a kiss, and so you could say, oh, that's a bit, but I think it is kind of fair that he does, like, not just because he's got a gun to his head, but he does repeat to himself later, I shouldn't have kissed her. Like, that was like, he knows that was the wrong choice for the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, he had to have a gun to his head to know that. But
true. But lessons were learned. He's very respectful from then on. To be fair, both him and Ian Holm turn around when she's getting changed. There's kind of a running gag of like she just does it in front of people and they just all turn around in instinct.
Yeah. It's that born sexy yesterday trope or something.
Yeah, it kind of fits into that a little bit. But she's also an ancient being that's got like millennia of like kind of life as well. So I guess they're trying to get by on that. I think if the born sexy yesterday trope, which is the idea that some like life is created, but because they happen to look like an adult and they learn things quickly, that it's okay that within like a week they're having sex. Like, it is a bit murky when you stop and think about the logistics and the morality of it a little bit, but
yeah. Why men like baby women.
It kind of falls into just other things that you let go in movies, I guess, to an extent, in the sense that if you stop and think about like decisions that certain characters make, it doesn't make any sense, but you roll with it because, it's a movie and this is like, we just did the Dirty Harry movies on Collector's Cut, and there's so many times when he illegally just shoots people, like, right? Because he's the good guy, he's the bad guy. But it's like, no, he just murdered someone and he expects to get away with it because he's a cop. And maybe there's some sad truth in that, but it's like I don't think you could get away with doing that character exactly the same now. I think enough of the audience would rebel against it, and there's a reason why some types of movies have kind of like faded away. And I think much like that, I think the born sexy yesterday trope is something that has lessened over time because more people have become aware of it and more people don't like it. So but this is one of these things where I think cold hard logic there's kind of a problem with the mentality, especially what the director's been on to be accused of. But I will say I think it falls into this weird thing where it's just been this way since I was a kid, this movie, so it kind of just everything feels like it's supposed to be this way, and I just kind of roll with it.
Sure. I mean, I still enjoy the, the Disney movies that I watched when I was a kid, and they're also just, your prince will come kiss you, and then that'll be it. You'll be married, and You know, that kind of after the prince saves you from something.
Yeah,
it's a trope that of another time, and it does seem to be going away.
Yeah, I mean, this movie definitely is kind of old school, and the way it's like, you know, love will save us all, and you know, all the rest of it. There's not a lot of super depth to it. It is kind of sweet in places, but there's not a lot of depth. I think, you know, there's a lot of I mean, obviously there's much worse examples of this kind of, like, I think, not specifically the Born Sexy Yesterday trope, which other movies have done, but I'm just thinking, like, if you look at any sort of sex comedies from the 80s, like, those have aged so immeasurably worse than this.
Those have legit, like, you know, R-word in them.
You can say rape, Tara.
Okay, I don't know. Sometimes people say that's not good to say.
I think it's good to not shy away from it. If you know, if that's what, if you're talking about it in a serious manner and that's what it is, you should call it what it is. You know, don't sugarcoat it.
I don't mind. I just don't want you to, like, you know, your video to get tagged.
Oh, sure. I think it's deep enough out of the video, and it's only once, so I don't think it's. I don't think YouTube will react to it, but
okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is an interesting topic where nothing in this movie feels too bad to me, I think, because of the way it handles the subject, but it's impossible to not note that the director's been accused of some very serious sexual assault in recent years, and also he has other movies that I do think have more problematic elements in them. And I know people like Leon the Professional, but I gotta say, I've never really liked that movie that much, and part of the reason why I don't like it is that I do not like the relationship between Leon and Natalie Portman's character. And the character of Leon in that movie never, like, does anything wrong. He never entertains, like, she's got a crush on him, he isn't, you know, he's like, no, I'm an adult, stop, blah blah blah. But just some of the scenes that, like, the character that Natalie Portman plays are in, and the way she, like, tries to sex herself up by, like, dressing certain ways, I don't like. And it's, I always found it uncomfortable, and then the director being accused of what he's been accused of, like, just amplifies it by, you know, tenfold.
I've not seen Leon the Professional. No, you're right. A lot of people talk about that movie. One thing I do know about it is during the Me Too movement, I think it was during that, maybe it was slightly before, but I saw Natalie Portman give a speech on television about, like, she was just reading some of the letters she got when she was a child star after that film. Oh,
just creepy.
And it is so disgusting, like, what some people wrote to her as a child.
Yeah. I think I vaguely remember this, actually, now you're bringing it up. So, you know, I think it's... My discomfort, if anything, in this movie only comes from the fact of who's making it and what else he's done or been attached to.
We should just do CGI children from now on.
Nah, that sounds horrible, but just don't don't put them in certain situations. That's all. I have no problem with children being in, like, you know, Stranger Things or something. Just an example. I'm trying to think of something with kids in it, like. That's fine. So, I don't know. Anyway, I mean, down a serious rabbit hole there, which is fine, because I think it's maybe a concern because of the director that some people might have. And maybe if you're someone who's never seen this movie before, maybe that trope of the Born Sexy Yesterday will rub you the wrong way. Yeah, it may not work for you now if you've not already grown up with the movie, and that's just the way some movies are, and there's really not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's too egregious in this particular movie, but again, like, I can't look at it impartially, because I grew up with this. I saw this for the first time when I was 8 years old, and I've seen it numerous times throughout my childhood, numerous times throughout my adulthood. It just is what it is, and you know, so. But I don't think there's anything too egregious in the sense that it's only bad in that it's kind of adding to the trope, as opposed to anything in this movie being particularly like, oh, this is skeevy what they're doing with this here, kind of thing. I never really feel that in the movie too much. Yeah,
it makes it a little bit harder to get into the love story.
Yeah, that's fair. But it is worth mentioning, when I was watching it, I didn't really think about this. And maybe it's easier to watch the movie when you're not thinking about it. If I was thinking about that as I was watching it, it might get in the way of some scenes.
Yay, bright colors, fast cars.
yeah, it's kind of. It's funny actually. It's not that they do the whole Born Sexy Yesterday thing. They don't do it at all because she forms into a teenager. But I'm going to bring up the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer here, where the character of Dawn, Buffy's sister, is like this like force of energy that's turned into a person ultimately. But she existed a long time before she was a person, but now she's a person. I think Lilu in this makes me think of that, and this came first. But this idea that like she existed in this other form for a long time, and it's kind of like maybe it's like kind of akin to reincarnation or something like that. But it's like, you know, you sort of become this new life form. So there's a murkiness to it because it's like, well, yeah, she's kind of ancient in this way, and she has like these embaked ideas, but you know, she's literally going through an encyclopedia in the movie at one point and just learning what war is and learning what all these other things are. So, you know,
I do love her character.
She's definitely not vegan though. She was firing into that chicken.
Yes.
She went up to their Star Trek style replica, which maybe it's not real chicken. Maybe at this point it's just magic. That imitates chicken perfectly, but it's not actually chicken. Maybe. I don't know. Because she puts a bowl in the like the microwave and just goes chicken.
Good.
And out pops this full, not just a full chicken, but it's like fully garnished with like you know, things on it. So very, very Star Trek replica.
A little bit Back to the Future 3 also. They put like the pills in the what looks like a microwave or something, and it comes out of pizza.
Oh, you mean 2? You mean 2? That's one in the future.
Sorry, 2.
Yeah. I was like,
3.
The Old West one? Like, what are you talking about? I couldn't wait to see where you went with that. I was like,
there's a future car in it.
So yeah. So we have this meeting between them, and I kind of appreciate how like, and maybe it's bad as a script writing thing, but I kind of love how complex all this part of the movie is, where like the military are like, okay, we have to get to these stones that are with this opera singer on this like vacation, you know, ship that's near this planet, and we're going, and because up until this point, I almost said McLean there, but Carbon Dallas is just this, you know, random cab driver who runs into Lilu. It's just a coincidence. The only coincidence, I mean, you could say running into each other as a coincidence, but I wouldn't count that, because I think as if you have two characters meeting as happenstance to start your story, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how they meet. That's how they clash and how the story starts. That's okay. But the fact that he then has a connection to the military, because, you know, the president's like, we need someone to go in that ship and get these stones, and, you know, Brian James is like, I think I've got just the man for the job.
So you're gonna win a contest.
Yes. He wins this contest, which was teased earlier on. You see, you know, Ruby Rod on the TV or whatever talking about it. But he wins the contest to go to this vacation place, this ship, and so the military show up, and Brian James is telling them all this. He's like, oh, look at that, you're a winner, oh, fancy that, and you're going to take this mission, you're going to go there. And he's not really interested until he realizes it's connected to Lilu, and that's when he becomes involved. But this is the whole funny bit you were talking about, where he hides the military, the three of them, into like his fridge or freezer, and then Lilu and Ian Holm and the helper dude that he has, the little bitch. That's what. That was my
protege.
That was my name for him in my head, to be honest, as I was watching the movie.
His bridge boy.
His bridge boy, yes, his bridge boy. He's this nervous kid. He's very young, and he's sort of stuttering, and he's scared of everything. But they're there because they need to get his tickets, because like they've heard that he's won on the radio. Everyone hears before Carbon does. His mother hears and phones and yells at him for like, you won these tickets. You're taking me, you little, you know, awful son. I pushed you out. It was
great character.
Very painful. I mean, I could take or leave the running gag of the horrible mother on the phone. You know, that's whatever.
She just didn't feel real at all to me.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So you know, this is all going on, and then the police show up, so he has to hide them as well. So Lilu ends up in the shower. Of course, the woman ends up in the shower where she's going to get her top all wet. Yeah, I see what you're doing, movie. I see what you're doing.
Ian Holm suffocates to death.
Almost suffocates, yeah, in the bed.
And apparently our military guys are okay after being frozen to death.
Well, I think that really tells you how cartoony this movie is. The fact that he opens the freezer.
Well, they did, reincarnate Lilu from a finger or something.
True, that's true. That is actually very true. They open because he opens the freezer and he's like, "I'll take the job," and he pulls the thing out of his hand. But they're popsicles. They're frozen stiff. And
so
then
I guess he just makes a phone call to the military and be like, "Pick up your guys. You're gonna have to, give them life again.
we have to defrost them." But yeah, so he's fine later when you see him again. So it's whatever. It's a little cartoony, but that's okay.
It's a wonder why more people don't just die all the time or do risky stuff, since they can just come right back. Apparently.
Apparently, maybe you only get access to that though if you're like important enough. Maybe all the working class can't just get brought back. It costs a fortune. So
too much energy.
Yeah. So yeah, because Ian Holm knocked Bruce Willis out for a minute and stole the tickets, but so we have the young guy, Bridge Boy, is trying to pretend to be Corbin Dallas with Lilu, who's got a fake multipass, and
multipass.
You know what? It's one of these weird, quirky things, and they do mention it in the scene. The woman who works at the airport says apologies for the trash. But there's just this wall. It's like a mountain of trash behind where the terminals are. It's really weird. I love it.
Yeah, it is.
But it's a weird choice.
No, it's good. I mean, there's a lot of people there. There'd be a lot of trash.
Do you think everyone
it's not leaking? It's all dry trash.
Do you think everyone up in these giant skyscrapers that everyone has to fly up to get home? Do you think they're just dropping trash out the window all day? That's just what they do. So the ground level's just covered.
You just have a trash chute goes all the way down.
So yeah, Bruce Willis shows up and goes in, pulls Bridge Boy back and takes his place. But then we also have the alien dudes who can shapeshift their heads to look human. We sort of saw that earlier on. They try and be Corbin Dallas. There's a shootout because of it, because they recognize that these are aliens. And then the main henchman dude for Gary Oldman comes up, and the flight's already taken off at this point, but he's like, "I'm Corbin Dallas, yeah, me, I'm Corbin Dallas."
You guys waited for me, right? He was way late.
Yeah, he was way late. And Gary Oldman somehow knew what payphone he'd be at, because then he blows up the payphone.
Future.
Yeah, it's the future with payphones, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of funny. No one has a cell phone of any kind in this, really.
I mean, even the idea of cabs being around in the future after Uber and stuff like that, yellow cabs, it's just probably not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I still use taxis, but I mean, taxis here, you phone like an Uber, and it's always been that way. You don't
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Same with lots of other places, but I don't know. It just seems like the yellow cab is going extinct.
Probably.
I mean, the business, you gotta admit, is hurting because of Uber and Lyft.
The one place where it still seems to work, and I say this having just been, traveling via airport, is that outside of the airport and the train station, you tend to get a taxi rank where they just come there to pick people up.
The Los Angeles one has an Uber pickup spot.
Yeah. So.
And they'll just come by and pick you up. You don't even have to call one in. There's a Lyft one also outside of the Hollywood Bowl. You just go to the Lyft area.
Oh, so that's what I mean by taxi rank, is that you don't call them. They just come and pick whoever's waiting up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know, Japan, when I lived there, it was you took a taxi everywhere.
Mm.
And I don't know. I people who drive there for taxis are like professional drivers. They're so good at driving. They have different kind of standards for getting a driver's license over there, especially if you're a cab driver.
That makes you feel safer on the road, I guess. Mm-hmm. I mean, would you want to drive in the back of Bruce Willis? He's flying cab in this after you watched him flying around? I don't know if you would.
Probably not. No, no, I agree. That's why I'm thinking that maybe Uber is not a thing over there.
Well, in Japan, it might be now. I mean, I don't know. But maybe not. Maybe if the standards are so high, maybe it's just harder to get a license, so therefore there's not enough people who actually would just opt in. Because I feel like most Uber drivers, they don't get a license so they can be an Uber driver. They just they have a license and then they go.
They will get nicer cars though.
Oh sure, yeah. That's the same with taxi drivers, because they all own their cars too.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. That's relevant. There's a cab driver. Oh dear. So the back half of the movie, like, kind of takes place. I mean, it ends in Egypt, but a lot of the back half takes place on this ship. And this is where Ruby Rod comes into it, and like, because technically he's a competition winner, like, Bruce Willis is meant to go and be on his radio show and talk to him, and he's just, obviously he just doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He's just giving one-word answers, that kind of thing. And we have the blue alien opera singer, very Mass Effect, I thought, this character.
Yeah, she's. I do like her design and stuff. I think it's very strange that she's got stones inside of her. I thought that was a weird choice. It's like, that's who you had to go to get the stones from, was this opera singer? Was she holding them the whole time? Is she like 300 years old, and that's why she's so good at opera?
Well, maybe it's like the priest. Maybe it passes on generation to generation. Chosen one to chosen one.
She was just selected to...
I have to assume there was a way to get them out that was safe for her. It was just because she was already shot and dying by the time it's, I'll just cut her open and do it this way. Like, I assume there was like I don't know if like maybe these blue alien chicks have got like good poop shoots or something, but but
I didn't see any organs. There's just a lot of blue blood.
A lot of blue blood, yes, a lot of blue blood.
Gooey blood.
I thought it was interesting that the blue alien with blue skin also wore the exact same color of blue dress as well. It's kind of like someone wearing a perfectly, to match their skin tone, like, sort of dress here.
Yeah, she's a cool design though.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. And like when she's doing her opera singing, like that intercuts with Lilu kicking the shit out of the aliens who have came on board, and they're pissed because Zorg blew them up earlier in the film, and they want revenge. They want the stones. They want to get involved.
Do they know why they want the stones? Are they working with Zorg?
No, they were working with Zorg. Plant? No, I think now they just want to get them because they know Zorg wants them. I think they just want to be like an FU to Zorg. They just want to get
profit.
Yeah. So I think they're just determined to like give him the middle finger, basically. And then, from there, like, everything breaks out. Zorg arrives as well, and like everyone's on the ship. He fights Lilu. Well, not fights. He shoots at Lilu and leaves her kind of for dead. She's kind of up in the air ducts after. But she has a cool fight scene though. It's not like the most impressive fight scene ever, but it works well because it's timed with the opera song, so it cuts back to her and the blue alien's dancing, then it cuts to Lilu and she's doing like spin kicks and stuff. Yeah, it works. She's the ultimate fighting, intelligent, perfect machine. That's kind of what they kept saying. She'd be perfect in every way.
Yeah, it's a fun action scene. I mean, I like the Bruce Willis action scene because it just turns into Die Hard for a little bit here.
Yeah.
He's doing lots of stunts.
Doing lots of stunts. He's jumping off the main area on the ship. It kind of looks like the foyer, or maybe even the outside of like a fancy garden, or not garden house, like a like a big mansion you would get with a big garden. Like the way it's got 2 steps going up either side. Like it kind of looks like that. And there's a lot of leaping off of that, and hiding under the roulette table at one point with Ruby Rod, who's screaming and yelling and doesn't know what to do and all that.
Yeah, he's super annoying.
Yeah. What's weird is that it's kind of like the president, and like the president's people can like either hear, maybe see, but definitely hear everything that's happening, because they seem to know what's going on and they react. So every so often we cut back to them for a reaction, and like Brian James like, don't worry, my man will take care of this. He's very good at what he does. And there's a part where after he's like already fought most of the aliens, there's some left that have got hostages, and Lee Pace is like the sort of the guy who works for the ship who's like scared to go in, and the alien says, hey, we want to negotiate, send in someone to negotiate, and Lee Pace is like, I'm not trained for it, and Bruce Willis is like, do you want me to give it a go? He's like, yeah, that'd be good. So Bruce Willis just walks in and shoots them in the head and saves Ian Holm. Everyone's happy.
That's really Lee Pace?
Not Lee Pace, sorry, Lee Evans. I said Lee Pace there, that's my fault.
Oh, okay. I'm like, he's got a very different face from that guy.
Yeah, Lee Evans.
And that guy was so short.
Yeah, Lee Evans. Lee Evans is another British comedian actor.
I thought he was also just not very good in this. He was just so over the top. And it's too much.
He's an acquired taste. I think most people will know him from Something About Mary. You might have seen him in Mouse Hunt, which was another movie kind of around the same time period. So
yeah, okay, I know who he is now, but like it's still, I still think his character is just too goofy, too silly. I know the movie is, you know, inherently kind of silly, but it's just I don't know. I just found it kind of grating.
yeah, that's fair. I think his part's so small that I barely acknowledge him. Like this moment where he says, "Yeah, you go and negotiate," is the only real memorable moment he has, I think.
I guess so, yeah.
Which, by the way, actually, what we should mention is as that all this is going on, so Zorg left with the case that he thinks the stones are in, which he doesn't have. In fact, one of my favourite Gary Oldman moments is when he looks in the case and starts laughing and starts crying because the stones aren't there.
They're not in there. Yeah.
Because this is after the scene where like the evil planet like talks to him on the phone and makes him bleed from the head. And the blood slowly drips down his head, and it's like, oh, this is nasty.
Is that blood? It's like
I don't know.
It's goo. It's brown.
I just thought it was
old blood.
Yeah, I thought it was dark blood, but like, I just don't know what else it would be. Like, is his hair gel melting? Like, what? What is this?
Yeah, I don't know. It's unclear. You don't see the point of origin, so we don't know what it is. It's like they sweat this brown goo comes down from their forehead.
But as he was leaving, though, during the opera performance, he planted a bomb and set it for 20 minutes. And can I just say, this is the longest 20 minutes in the history of humankind. Because when all of this action happens, where we have the action in the main opera hall, and then out in the foyer, and then the hostage situation, and then Bruce Willis looks at the security cameras, goes, "I need to go help Lilu." Oh, she's there, and they go find in like the diva's like quarters, like her hotel room, and that's where she's been left for dead. It's in there that Ruby Rod, who's just tagged along with Bruce Willis for some reason at this point, notices the bomb on the door, and there's still 10 minutes left. I went, that all happened in 10 minutes? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. They just edited around it so that, you know, they didn't have to spend time walking around trying to find anybody.
Yeah, but it's the opposite though. It feels like it's been too many things have happened. It doesn't feel believable that this could only be 10 minutes.
I meant that in kind of a joking way.
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, they evacuate the ship because there's a joke here where Ruby Rod says, "Don't worry, it's not a bomb, because if it was a bomb, all of the sensors would pick it up and there'd be an alarm and we'd evacuate." And right after I was like, why did that take 10 minutes? The bomb's been there for 10 minutes. Why did it take 10 minutes for that to happen? I get that it was like a funny little beat you wanted to have, but I don't understand why it took 10 minutes. So whatever. Anyway. So they all evacuate, and Zor comes back to the ship because he wants to get his stones, and he deactivates the bomb with just 5 seconds remaining. But then one of the aliens who's not quite dead like presses a button, and their super bomb pops up out of a box in the same room. And it's kind of weird that it's exactly 5 seconds left on that bomb. It's like it's picking up where the other one left off, even though this was their bomb and not his bomb. It's not like it's connected to his bomb.
Gary Oldman didn't leave them with both bombs?
No, because they weren't working for Gary Oldman at this point.
Oh, okay.
So
I guess I just assumed that Zorg also left them the bomb.
No, this is them independently from him. So I don't know if like they always want it to go off basically instantly, so that's why it's just a 5-second timer. But it just kind of feels like the joke is that it's continuing from exactly where Zorg's left off.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But that's
just coincidence, I guess. That's
how Zorg dies. He goes boom. Boom, boom, boom. Bada bing. Big bada boom.
Big bada boom.
Yeah. So, you know, that's part of the movie's a lot of fun. Like, I think this is when it all kind of clicks in place. Like, all of the hijinks of like all the different people pretending to be Corbin Dallas, I think is a lot of fun. Of them trying to get onto the ship. A lot of the action when it's all sort of going down at the main time. Like, I think it's a very well paced movie. I think. I know you said some of the ending dragged on for you, but I do think that all this stuff is really well paced and all kind of like crescendos really nicely together.
The middle part, yeah, I'd say is more fun. It's a lot of action going on. Unfortunately, that's also the part that has Chris Tucker in it.
Fair. I can't really argue
and
with you.
some other characters that I don't really care about or enjoy watching.
Yeah.
And I just think the president is just so bad. He's such a bad actor.
Poor Zeus. Poor Zeus. He played Zeus in No Holds Barred, the Hulk Hogan movie from the late 80s.
Is he a wrestler?
He's not, but he did a couple of wrestling matches, but he hasn't. But he wasn't a trained wrestler, so every so often they'll do a celebrity thing where they'll come in and they'll train them to do like 2 things, but they're mostly just standing around and can't, takes a lot of training to be a wrestler,
I see.
You can't just jump in and do it.
No, I imagine so.
So,
It can't all be Andy Kaufman.
no. It's especially stupid because I feel like there's a moment, I don't know if it was back in those early days or when they brought him back in WCW, but there's definitely a moment where he effectively, snaps someone's neck, and I'm like, wait, you can't pretend you just snap someone's neck. He would be dead. Like, he should be dead.
Right, yeah.
But he does the motion where
It's the knockouts, neck snapping.
Yes.
That move.
Yeah, that move. Wrestling can be very dumb, okay? Like, I will happily admit that. In fact, it's more dumb than it's not most of the time, if I'm honest.
Sure. I really haven't seen very much, so I can't really comment. But from what I've seen, it always looks dumb, yeah.
I think it always looks dumb from the outside. I think to truly appreciate it, you have to have someone to say, hey, this is just, watch this one match. This will turn you around.
It's actually a really important rivalry. It's been going on for a long time.
I mean, that is effective, but if they're good in the ring, they can tell the entire story there. That's the beauty of it. When it's good, right?
Right.
There's a lot of times when it's not.
Right.
But when it's good, it's good. Anyway, so they're all flying. They've got the stones now at the Blue Alien. They're flying to Egypt. The evil planet is accelerating its rate towards Earth, so they're on a time crunch. And when they get to the pyramid, they have to put the stones in place. They have to open them. How do we do that? No idea. This bridge boy who accidentally breathes on the wind, because it's wind, water, fire, and earth.
It's all the elements.
Yeah, the 4 basic elements, and it's like, oh shit, they just need whatever they are. So you blow on the wind one, you put some dirt,
sand, on the earth one.
Some sweat will do for water. Yeah. And then ultimately it's like, how do we do fire? And of course Bruce Willis only has 1 match left.
He takes his sweet time putting it on top of the stone.
Drama! Tara, this is drama.
It was dumb.
I enjoy the tension. I don't know. I'm into it. So it is very movie contrived, but I don't know. I can't enjoy it.
Don't breathe.
And I said, well, how do you open Lulu?
Nice.
Talking about sounds so dirty. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you turn her on? That still sounds dirty. How do you activate the fifth element?
Maybe this is all intentional.
It may be very intentional, but it's like, okay, I don't know. And she's like, oh, hey, what is the 5th element? Like, what does she represent? Does she represent humanity, strength, whatever? And it's like, no, the 5th element is love. And she's saying the world's sad, humans just kill each other. Like, what is there to live for? And he says love's something to live for. And she's like, well, no one needs me. He's like, I need you. Why do you need me? And he finally says, I love you. And that, the kiss, and that triggers the giant beam of light coming out of her that kills the evil planet. That's how the movie wraps up. I enjoy all this. I
don't know.
I get that you don't like it. I think I enjoy the performances of most of the actors involved, right? I think that's the first thing.
Well, this is back when Bruce Willis was reliably good.
Yeah, when he was actually trying and was and even if he wasn't trying, he was certainly putting in a decent performance, that he was likable and charming and all the rest of it.
He knew what worked, yeah.
Yeah, and I think this moment, I think it's just the music more than anything else. But when he's like kind of like finally confessing that he feels love, as much as you might critique it and say, he's only known her for like a week, if that. It's been like 3 days.
We get that she's perfect and all, but like he has been kind of creep.
Yeah. But like there is something nice to the sentiment that the 5th essential thing to human life is love. Like that's the after land to walk upon, after air to breathe, water to drink, and fire for heat. You need love. I'm realizing in this there's nothing for food, which is also pretty essential. But that's water kind of represents that too. It's fine.
Maybe that's why it's a woman. Breast milk.
Is this a milk joke? Well, that's the thing. At the start of the movie, there's like a running little. There's a run. Well, it's not even a running gag, but Ian Holm is surprised it's a woman. They assume it's going to be a man, and it's kind of this like, oh no, she's a she. Oh, I must turn. She's getting naked. Ugh. You know, I mean, I think that there is maybe a cynical look at this where you could say, oh, like the prized item, if you want, you know, like to remove like Lilo for a second, the prized item turns out to be a woman who is the embodiment of this thing that all these men want to get their hands on to use for their own, you know, protection or gain or whatever. You could look at this through a very cynical lens, and if Lilo just felt like a MacGuffin, that could be a problem. I think she does feel like an interesting enough character, and kind of the message, if there's any message to this film, is that her kind of like starting to dislike humanity but then being sort of brought back around because there's love too, which is a very typical sci-fi trope, but you know, whatever, means that she is the one with more of an arc. I mean, Bruce Willis kind of does too, but she definitely has an arc. And I think the fact that we have the stones as the actual MacGuffin stops her from feeling like just the MacGuffin, even though she's the fifth stone effectively. But if you wanted to look through it a cynical lens, I could see where you were coming from by saying that, you know, she is just this plot device for them to all function around, if you wanted to do that. I think, and I hate to compliment Milla Jovovich, but I think she is likable enough in her performance, and she had a little bit of that, do you ever watch Demolition Man? We were saying that Sandra Bullock's really sweet in it because she's so naive and she comes off very earnest in a lot of her silly lines. I think she, similar here with Lilo, she has a lot of earnestness in her reactions to things, the way she's excited by certain things, angry by other things, and she is tough, she can fight and all these other things, but ultimately what makes her important is the idea of love. And again, you could be cynical and say you've got a woman to represent that because naturally all of the other characters are all men because this was written in the 90s. That's a fair point, you know, like
you get a hot chick and some bandages and
yeah, I mean, because you could say
everyone's gonna fall in love.
You could say, why isn't Corbin Dallas a female character, and why isn't The Fifth Element a male character? And yeah. The cynical, sad truth to that is just because it's an action movie made in the 90s to appeal to men. That's why. You know.
Yeah.
That's the sad truth of that, and I can't argue with that. That's right.
Yeah, with the trope that we've already described.
Yeah. So, like, you know, absolutely, there is things to critique. I think one of the important things of critiquing movies, older movies that maybe have some elements that are either outright problematic or maybe just like have problematic sources, which is maybe where I'd put this one more in as a category, is that you can acknowledge what about it works, why the craft in making it works and is good, if you agree with that. And I know you don't necessarily agree with all of it, but at the same time you can also acknowledge what of its time is there that is something that, yeah, we would expect better of now and what should be improved upon.
I don't think it's going to affect my rating at all because I'm pretty good at just taking myself out of that kind of stuff, unless it's like animal stuff, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of like, you know, like I think looking through the lens of like how does it tackle certain social issues, if you look at an old movie or TV show or whatever, and you go, okay, it falters because it's still guilty of X, Y, and Z, but it is trying to push things forward with this and this, and you can sort of see it's trying, and its time period is actually trying to move things forward. Just because it's guilty of things that we wouldn't accept now, or doesn't succeed at things that we would expect now, it is trying for its time to move things forward, and arguably maybe it helps succeed because things are different now, you know? Not that I'm saying this specific movie is trying to move things forward. I don't necessarily think it is. I think it's a light-hearted adventure that I don't think is ultimately trying to say very much. It's just a fun movie, but I think it's a good fun movie, and I usually do have a good time watching it. And the cast is a big part of that. The visual style is a big part of that. I like the music too. So I still enjoy this quite a bit. I like it more than you do, clearly, and that's okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not going to rate it poorly because it's not like I don't understand why you like it. Like, I understand why. I just found that I was surprised at how much I didn't enjoy it this time. But I know that there's a lot of good stuff in there. Like, I love the visuals. I love the world building. I love Milla Jovovich in this, and there's a lot of good stuff in it. But I think I don't know. It's just the nostalgia wasn't enough for it to be saved this time.
Yeah,
I just saw too much where I was just like, I don't think I like this anymore.
And to be clear, I don't think that nostalgia is the only reason why I still like this. I do think there's enough in here that I like regardless. I speculate that maybe, as you know, like any problems that I could have with it are softened by the fact that I've watched this a lot since I was a kid. It's hard to sort of have the unbiased view of it in that sense. But I do think there's a lot of things in here that do work. It is very a style over substance type movie, but its style involves like the way the characters even interact with each other, the way they talk. There's a quirkiness. You know, the guy that tries to mug Bruce Willis has got like a photo of his hallway on top of his hat that he's got up to the peephole, so that when he opens the door, it's like, oh no, it looked like there's no one here, but haha, I had a hat. Like, I tricked you. Like, that to me is a really quirky, funny little detail that I kind of like. And it's just little things like that. And it's not substance, but sometimes if you have enough style in enough different ways, it can kind of become a fun experience, even if it's not, you know, this is not the pinnacle of what I'm looking for in science fiction, right? You know, this is not, you know, sit us down and talk about Terminator. We're going to sit here and talk about what the film's saying, about themes. We're going to talk about all these things on top of filmmaking, on top of style, on top of all that stuff. But as a fun, lighthearted, very visually appealing story, I got a lot of it. So
Great.
okay, I'm just trying to end on a positive note before we rate it. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, would you like to rate The Fifth Element out of 10?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time coming up with a number. But I will still be positive on it, because I did like this movie for most of the years that it's been out. It's just recently, I guess, it's just hasn't aged as well with me as I thought it would. So I'm still going to give it a 6, because I do appreciate everything that is good in it. It's still really good and very unique and cool. But for the most part, I'm just not as excited as I used to be about it, and I probably won't watch it again for a long time.
That's fair. I think typically I've given this an 8, and I think I'm going to stick with that this time. I still just have a lot of fun watching it. I can acknowledge that, yeah, it's not that deep. It's not got any sort of like great themes going into it, and you know, I can acknowledge some of the tropes that are a bit dated or whatever that are here. But fundamentally, I enjoy the vast majority of these actors playing these roles in the quirky ways they do, and I just find it a very pleasant experience to sit down and watch. So
Okay.
there you go. That is The Fifth Element. It's rare we have such a gap in ratings.
I mean, maybe.
We don't normally have a... That's very rare that
When
we're...
it comes to sci-fi, no.
Sure. Oh yeah, if we start reviewing musicals, yes, I'm going to be giving everything like a 3 out of 10. You know? So... But yeah, on this show, I mean, no, I don't mean in general. I mean on this show specifically. It's rare we have big gaps. I'm sure there's a couple of examples, but it's not many. Most of the time, it's like, oh, like one of us will be slightly higher or lower than the other, but there'll be a general sentiment that's the same throughout.
You know, doing this 90s thing has been really fun, because there was a time when I went to the movies especially if there was a sci-fi film, or I watched it on HBO as soon as I could. So it's been interesting revisiting all the movies that I loved growing up in the 90s and going, this is different now. Like Fifth Element. Dark City was an early one we did, where I was just like, I don't think this is good.
I know.
Like, it's a good idea, but it's not like the execution's not very good.
Yeah, I always feel a bit weird about reviews like that, because Dark City's one that has a strong fan base and following, and I knew I didn't like it before I watched it for the show, because I never really liked it that much, and it was kind of a relief to me that you kind of felt very similar things, and we ended up agreeing on a lot of the reasons why the movie doesn't work for us. And part of me was like, oh god, there's going to be so many Dark City fans who see a video called Dark City Review, and they're going to click on it.
An hour long,
and it's an hour plus of us saying why it's shit and why it's overrated.
I don't know if I would go with shit, but yeah, it was definitely overrated in my own mind. Like, even when they came out, it wasn't like it was. I remember being really praised by Ebert from Siskel and Ebert. I think it was his #1 movie of that year still. I
think it was this year, because it was in 87. What?
Oh, it
maybe.
may have been. Yeah.
I'll double
Good
check.
year for sci-fi.
Or is it?
We do a lot of 97 sci-fi
Oh no,
movies.
1998. Sorry, is the next year.
Okay. But yeah, it's just that one at 12 Monkeys was another one that we revisited, and I was just like, this isn't as good as I remember it being. I remember it being great. But oh well, there's still lots of 90s sci-fi movies that are great.
Oh yeah.
See our last review.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the year, we're doing a top 25 90s sci-fi, so you'll see exactly what we think of the good 90s sci-fi movies.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we place this one now.
I've got a feeling one of us might and the other one won't. is my guess at this juncture.
Are we doing a separate list?
I actually don't know. Like, I was thinking we might do a combined list, because then we can do the Patreon bonus thing of like, here's how we like came up with the list. Like we got. And then Tim will be mad because that was his idea first for streams, and like
that's dangerous, because then everyone's gonna see the dark side of me.
Yeah, she hears some of the shitty things she says when she's not on camera, guys. So.
Yeah, typical Canadian asshole, or a-hole, as we say. With an EH.
Yes. Emphasis on the A as well. Like, such an a-hole.
A-hole.
You're an a-hole, eh? Anyway, so yeah, there you go. That's the fifth element. Coming up next time on the show, I don't actually remember. So I'm getting our document up so I can tell you. But yes, coming up next time on the show, we will be looking at another 90s movie. 90s season continues. We're going to be looking at Hardware, and this is from like 1990 or 1991. This is like an early 90s movie. It's a little low budget film. Sadly, another one where the director's been accused of some things, which unfortunately will just...
God, 90s, man.
I know, it's rough. Well, that's the thing, like, everyone was glad he came back to make movies again with Colour Out of Space, because it's Richard Stanley who directed that, and then there were some accusations not too long after, and it's like, oh. But I remember liking Hardware when I saw it. I've only seen it once, and it was a while ago, and that's why I put it on the list, because I thought, I kind of want to see this again and see what Tara thinks of it. So,
what's it about?
It's about a dude who's building like a robot, I think, if I remember right. Or an AI.
I wonder if I've seen it.
I don't know. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing next week. And we have, I think, assuming everything stays on schedule, I think we have 3 90s movies left before we're done with the actual 90s movies for reviewing. Obviously, that's not going to be all the 90s. There's probably going to be a second 90s season in the future. There's obviously way more to do. But we got Hardware next, and then we have another movie which we'll reveal next week, and then the other vote winner that just got voted for on Patreon. And then we've got a few things in December that are separate. We have to do Avatar before Avatar 2, and a couple other things. And then at the end of the year, we'll come back to the 90s for the top 25 90s sci-fi movies.
Whoa!
So that is the plan. For
Stan.
The rest of the year. Stan?
That's the plan, Stan.
Oh, okay. Very good. So yes, if you want to be voting on what we watch sometimes, you can do that over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can get some bonuses. Tara, what are the 2 main bonus things to get every month if they go sub at the $5 tier?
That's right, Peter. For $5 a month, you can get access to our movie meltdown, where we talk about other stuff we've been watching throughout the month, or we also do quizzes, sci-fi quizzes to each other, and it's just a little thing to get us to know us a little bit better, see what else we're into.
A movie catch-up show, I would call it.
Yeah.
But that also includes what?
A bonus episode.
Yeah.
That we watch once a month. We just did a 90s one that's really fun. Can I say what it is?
Yeah. It'll be up by the time this goes up.
Lawnmower Man. That was our October one.
Which has some problematic elements of its own that, had to be discussed. So, is this a running theme in 90s sci-fi? Like, once you get past the really big, well-remembered ones, there's just a lot of problematic bits and pieces.
The 90s were just so extreme,
Because even Mimic had, like, the autistic kid is special trope kind of thing, and then
the savant autistic kid.
Demolition Man wasn't that problematic though.
Oh no.
Huh?
Ahead of its time, really.
Yeah. Oh, Cube wasn't. Cube was a delightful film. Not problematic with Cube. Anyway, there you go.
Except for some of the acting, but.
Well, yeah, but that's not problematic. And like when we say problematic, we mean
it's the crazy eyes.
we you know, like is doing a faux pas with social issues or something. But yes. There you go. That is the show. So you can of course support us by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get bonuses for this, but also other shows that we do. Check out our new show, The Collector's Cut, that I'm doing with David, where we work through franchises that are not sci-fi or horror, of course. But we also do like sort of movie themes, or you know, we'll do like maybe 4 or 5 from an actor or director, that kind of thing. We just started. We're starting with the Dirty Harry franchise, so if that's of interest, we had some really good conversations. We've actually recorded all those episodes already, so I can tell you that all the Dirty Harry episodes are pretty good. I can actually tell you that now. So you get things to look forward to.
Excellent.
So go check out all that. And of course, you can support everything by liking, subscribing, commenting down below. If you listen to audio podcast version, rate the podcast 5 stars with a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. All of it does help. And you can get us on Twitter at ScreamsMidnight. There's also a co-host that I don't remember exactly what it is or how to tell you how to go there. I'm just setting up some alternatives in case Twitter goes down the toilet. Just in case.
You gonna shout out the producers?
Oh, good idea, Tara. Thank you very much to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Bordenau, Christopher Moy, David Brown, Al Treisman, and Alison M. Fordyce. And of course, that's one of the higher tiers over at Patreon, is the producer tier. But we thank all of our patrons for keeping the lights on and keeping my cats fed. So thank you very much. Yeah, that's the show. That's the ace for this week. Thank you once again for watching or listening. We'll see you next time. Keep watching sci-fi and computer ad salsa.